Don't know who Liv is, but every time I have to go live, I have to press on them. Then when I pressed it, it says we've been live for a minute, but we haven't. I just pressed go live. Welcome anyway. This is a fucking this is a very special episode of Maupin Watch. This is Maupin Watch. Oh my fucking god, what were they thinking? But thank you for being open with us edition. Now, not a very catchy title, so I went for one a little more catch-all. But does anyone want it? Anyone...
Looks like Caleb.
Oh, go on. What was you gonna say? You were about to say something and you just stopped. Well, native bashing would be the way in which those people operate. Um, can anyone explain to me what the fuck is on my screen? I know what it is. Does anyone else know what it is?
You're muted.
No, I'm not. I wasn't muted for everyone else. It's still working for them. You bastard. And what was it you were saying?
I just saw it. Apparently, Be Liberal and Caleb are going on more native bashing again with their whole degrowth shit.
Yeah, I fucking not surprised. The rampant racism towards native naturalism is a consistent thing with these up tough white Marxists who think they know the fucking world. Don't understand that naturalism isn't against industry; it's just against the overuse of industry. Which, given the state of the world, we are overusing. It's not a raunchant claim, but no, what's it? What the fuck is this abomination on my screen? I know what it is. Does everyone else know what it is?
Well, I know certainly what it is. It's man spread with the worst looking flag in existence.
Yeah, fucking keel over and man spread. It's his name. You can read it right there. Um, it has decided to with so the one in the middle. We'll get that one out of the way. That's the banner of unrelenting Rousseau victory. To the top left corner, which I'll move me out the way, is the USSR. I'm sure we all know about that one. Funky place. I hear it used to exist, not so much anymore. Come by hard times, you see.
According to Be Liberal, it's currently in the process of
Reunion.
2.0, Electric Boogaloo.
And then on the bottom, that is a specific flag of the Russian Empire. That is the flag of Tsar Alexander II. Who, if you think Tsar Nicholas had a bad reputation, Tsar Alexander is where all of the revolutionary fervor in Russia had started. The Russian Social Democrats first started organizing in response to the horrific conditions of Russia in the mid 1880s, early 1880s.
Yeah, it's generally considered that period from like after Alexander II's assassination attempt in 1866 till 1905 to be the most reactionary period during the Russian Empire. And what's his face? that particular flag was used from 1858 to 1883. But it was also used by a certain group of people
Black
that we
Legions.
may know of. Yep. A certain is it Black Hundreds or Black Legion? I think it was
Different
Black Hundred.
names, because I mean the titlement of black goes to many different sort of attributions during that war. I mean the organized barons were seen to be denoted by the color black. Because a lot of different groups melded into the White Army. Not a lot of them were the most. Not a lot of them were the most loyal to Tsar Nicholas, and many more of them were even less loyal to the provisional government. So it was a bit of a. The White Army was a scramble of people who would not have gotten along with each other after they beat the Bolsheviks. A counter-united front.
It would have been, it would have been an absolute shit show, to say the least.
Yeah.
It would have basically looked like China during the warlord era, pretty much. Or something similar to that. But yeah, I'm just going over the Black Hundreds here. Ooh. And they were also called by a certain name. Guess what name it was?
Guam.
The Yellow Shirts. Now, interestingly enough, that isn't like the first time we've seen these kind of like, I don't know if the Black Hundreds would be classified as proto-fascist or just straight up fascist.
Well,
But
anything that predates Gentile's manifesto of fascism would be proto-fascist.
Yeah. Well, in America, we had something very similar to that. This kind of proto-fascist movement. It was called the Yellow Shirts. And it was a white supremacist movement that was active from the 1870s till the 1900s, till eventually it kind of merged with the KKK. And it was considered the military arm of the Democratic Party. Wow, what a great party that is.
Well, they were the party that was pro-slavery.
Yes.
Remember, it wasn't until the 30s that they revised their image. And until the 70s or the 80s, until they started convincing everyone that they were the party that liked black people. And they didn't do a very good job of convincing people.
Yeah. And now they got a guy in the presidency who was good friends with Strom Thurmond. But the red shirts, they got their names from the shirts that they wore. And I didn't know this, but apparently, well, the waving of the bloody shirt, that apparently was one of the areas where they got the idea of wearing nothing but red shirts. The idea of wounded nationalism, that the Confederacy was betrayed, basically, or the lost cause, all that bullshit. They also apparently got it from Garibaldi as well.
Hey, that's Garibaldi.
Yeah.
Did you guys not get Garibaldis in America?
I don't think we. Probably not. I mean, I know we have things like Bismarck and other such things. I got a. I don't want to go get a Bismarck.
We don't
right
get
now,
Bismarcks
actually.
here. We changed the name of them and never changed them back after World War One.
What are they called now?
I have no idea. A lot of stuff that used to have German names here are either Dutch now, even though they're not. or they have completely like English names, similar to what we did with Brussels sprouts when we left the EU. Brussels sprouts are now Yorkshire sprouts. I don't know whether they changed it back yet, but if you went to Morrison's in Yorkshire, you go in, it's Yorkshire sprouts. I mean, let them still be named after Brussels. No one fucking likes them. But yeah, no, you're on about Garibaldi.
Yeah, and that's where they got their idea from, at least for the red shirts. They didn't really get like the whole, you know, because Garibaldi actually was somebody who did actually fight for like the oppressed. He went to places like in Latin America, and it's basically regarded as like a revolutionary force, like a. But yeah. So basically, to get back to it, so this is the ideological backbone to what Keaton Mansfield, Keaton Manspread, right here has as his flag. He's basically trying to unite um, Soviet history with fucking uh, literally the most reactionary period of the Russian Empire and the Black Hundreds. It's like it's like what would be the equivalent of this? Yeah, this would be like the equivalent of let's say you're a Russian dissident living in the United States, and then eventually you guys form something called the National Bolshevik Party. I think that would be the equivalent of it, or something close to it.
What, and then decide to distinctly go for Nazi symbols for the flag, and the style of and the use of imperial eagles, and fuck me, it wouldn't surprise me if they marched to the German goose step at this fucking point. Like, how far do you go before the penny drops on rotten ground?
Yeah, well, technically, there are no more National Bolsheviks because the National Bolshevik Party hasn't existed since 2007 or something.
That would be like me saying, "Oh yeah, well, National Socialists don't exist. The Nazi Party was disbanded in 1945." Not only is that
Ex-
the most naive thing that I've ever said, but purposefully ignorant. Purposefully, because to turn around and go, "Oh yes, but historic event means that ain't happening anymore," would be like me turning around and going, "Oh yeah, well, communism, that's never going to happen now because the Soviet Union ended in 1991." History does not retroactively end the future. It's not how history works. Um, Actually, nothing is really retroactive into the future, except unless you kill someone. That's pretty retroactive. Because the thing is with things being retroactive, that's a back thing. That's a past thing. Doesn't really doesn't take up in the future space. So it would be like having a revolution and then be like, oh yes, all the contradictions are over inside socialism. Hoja.
yeah,
Or calling it the end of history in 1993.
yeah, it's a very undialectical view of the world, and fucking it's going over. Oh, what? So like, I guess with the I guess with Keaton Mansfield and the rest of these people, um, do they like? Because I know that they couldn't give a shit about like they only care about Lenin when it serves uh when they take like either out of context quotes or it serves their purposes. But I'm just waiting for one of these patriotic socialists to cite me where Lenin went out of his way to support the Black Hundreds or something like that.
Yeah, or when Lenin ever bore the flag of Tsarism. Actually,
Yeah, in fact,
Lenin said quite the opposite. Lenin said to destroy the flags of Tsarism. And before anyone goes, oh, but the Soviet flag for Russia was quite like the Russian flag, but with the red bit extended. Yes, and that was a flag that was made on commission after the Soviet Union was created, after they had burnt many flags of the Tsar. And once again, it's not the same flag. Yes, it's distinctly similar because it uses three colors that are core to the Russian history. But that doesn't make it the same flag. That's not how vexillology works. That would be like me turning around and saying that the DDR flag is the same as the flag of West Germany. No, it's not. The distinct emblem does make a big difference. The bigger red space and massive hammer and sickle makes a big difference to the lack of, to the other flag that has a big Russian imperial eagle on it, and is a standard tricolor style flag, and before then was this black, yellow, and white flag, and that flag of Alexander II which was the state flag in his era, is the most common flag used by monarchists in Russia today.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Nowadays, it's considered the Romanov flag of the Romanov dynasty nowadays,
yeah,
because Black Hundreds don't really exist anymore. They were disbanded, I believe, during the February Revolution, but probably some of them
they'd all join the
just
White
fucked
Army.
up and then fucked off to fucking Manchuria. God only knows
No, they
what.
were they were probably with the White Army and then banished into fucking Germany, because that's where the Nazis then got their kick.
Oh yeah.
Many of the Nazis were inspired by White Russians.
Oh
But
yeah.
that flag there, they claim, these CPI lot, that that's supposed to be a sign of unity between the left and the right in Russia. Now, not only it's not on this post, it's on someone else's post that I can't be asked to go and find because they're awkward and they have like three or four different accounts. Because, well, for some unknown reason why they keep getting accused of being a Nazbol. I wonder what it is. Um, but there's a Soviet lass called Tatiana who was criticizing them, and the Soviet lass points out, like, you guys are flashing a flag that, like, no one other than distinct czarists use in Russia, and no one would fucking use in their own right in this country. To represent something, you're flashing something that would be seen as a joke by Russian standards, but as if it's like culturally, the most respectful thing to do for Russia right now, and showing this like unity of the right and left. Now, here's the thing: they're showing a unity of red and brown. This is the thing they've been denying for ages. Red and brown fascists, which fucking monarchists and fascists are fucking two sides of the same neo-feudal shitcoin. Like, uh, both of them want a dictatorial society with no elections that strong arms its way through via a king's will style of organizing society. I mean, you could argue that different monarchies involve a certain different vibrance to the way they organize it, and gives a lot more freedom to the elected sectors of government than some other monarchies might. But that's shit for spoodle, because any example you could point out of that, I could very much show you that that monarch advises that government, rules that government. Still, they just are in such an offense sector that they basically never get to be a part of the publicity, because there's a million and one angles before anything gets to the monarch. It's
Yeah.
complicated, just like fascism is. but nonetheless, two sides of the same shit coin. This flag, if it was right and left, you'd think that they would have shown the USSR flag, the banner of unrelenting victory, and then the Russian flag, not the Tsarist flag. This is some right Duganite shithead stuff that out of anyone you'd ever expect it to come from. This feels like it came from the Action Francais cookbook of how to claim to be a Marxist whilst also supporting monarchism.
Yeah, it's the Monarch Bowls. Um, but I'm trying to think of like what would the equivalent of this would be in like places like Germany. Like if they had like a flag like this and they took like the
No,
German
let's be real.
Democratic Republic.
GDR combined with the Nazis, it's that bad. The German
Yeah,
Empire isn't even bad enough.
because the Nazi German flag is literally the most like reactionary period of the German Reich. Because people got to remember the German Reich, its name lasted from 1871 till I believe it was 1947. Was it 1940?
Well, so what I
1945.
remember it being was that the First Reich was the Holy Roman Empire, Second Reich was the Kaiser Reichs, and then the Third Reich was the Nazi Reich. That's what
Yeah.
I remember. Because there's no Reich during the Weimar Republic.
Well, technically, I think it still kept the name, but they called it the Wehrmacht.
No. You see, they had the Reichstag. They had the center of German Empire, but there was no empire. Reich
Yeah,
specifically means empire, not kingdom.
yeah.
That's why every rise of empire of Germany has been distinctly labeled a Reich. Uh, all trying to do the 1,000 years things, but they can only seem to get about 10.
Hey, well, the Holy Roman one got to at least. I don't know if it got to
Yeah, they got
1,000 or
like
not,
2 or 3
actually.
centuries, but
Well,
they
I think
then
it.
thought that they could invade Russia. Lol.
Oh yeah. Oh shit! It actually did last 1,000 years.
Wait, the Holy Roman Empire did?
Yeah, 1800 to 1806.
You mean
It was
800 to 1806?
Yeah.
Say 1800. Fuck.
100. Well, that would be a really short
6
time.
years. I mean, the Nazis only lasted 12 years.
Interesting fact. My brother told me this. They disbanded the Holy Roman Empire because Napoleon was going to crown himself Holy Roman Empire Emperor.
That's such a
So
German
they
thing
were,
to do. Oh,
yeah.
well, the French is. Oh, the French is going to get power? No, no one can have it. They disband and return to being separate German nations again for like 200 years. Actually, I don't think it's that long. I think it's only a century. I need to get my
Yeah, it
light
was just
again.
like, but yeah, what's it? People got to remember that flags and symbols like this are super important. Um, like and Caleb knows these kinds of things. He knows how important symbols are, and that's why he has things like the giant Lincoln head at his CPI conference.
You trying to tell me Lincoln's not a communist?
Well, apparently he's a Bonapartist, which is a good thing according to
But but but
Caleb.
but Marx wrote a letter to him once, so that must mean he's a communist, right?
Obviously, and apparent and he was also one of the writers for the Republican Party magazine in New York or something like that. So that's clearly a communist party at that point.
All those magazines you get at the hairdressers. If you wasn't bored out of your brains and it's 2000 and 2005, so no smartphones, you wouldn't be reading the fucking thing. God.
Yeah, most of the time people don't seem to know like how common illiteracy was back in the day. Like people used to go to like these cafes and other things to hear other people um, read
Read.
out newspaper. Yeah, so they could get like a understanding of what was going on in the day.
So, in New York, in Liberty Park, um, so that's on the coast of when where you're reaching towards Liberty Island, that park space. That used to fill up with towns, like literal towns that were that big. And those shanty towns, about 15-20% of the people living there could read. That's not read great, that's they could read. These people were lumpen proletarians, and unlike Caleb's very disenfranchising description, they did have jobs. Every one of them went out for as many jobs as they could get. If they couldn't get jobs, they'd get illegal jobs. But every one of them would be trying to work their asses off to provide food for each other.
Wait a minute, you're telling me that they weren't all just a bunch of lazy criminals going around,
Selling
shanking people
drugs.
left and just, just killing unarmed people left and right, and
Well, you must be confusing them for the police. I mean, it's it's diabolical. But the the prospects of this whole Russian flag business. I'm having a moment. This is more than just this. So it's really important to keep in mind how cults and uh, political sabotage groups work. So if you're trying to play this kind of game, of course you're gonna have to say shit that doesn't fall in line with how you want to play things first to rally up a group, to get a big group and infiltrate and become well enough astounded name. Once you've done that, then you've got to start testing the waters, which we've seen for the last 3 or 4 years with Caleb. Keep unleashing how much you can take the piss, how right you can go, and see how much your supporters will keep backing you. They're still getting backing after this. And they're pulling this whole like solidarity move out of it, where it's like all come together, don't take shit on this, we've all got to come to, yeah. Don't let people counsel you for this. They're pulling the council culture shit. Um, which, mind you, if you support Tsar Nicholas Alexander's banner, Alexander II, you not only do you deserve to be shot, just like the Tsar's family got shot in 1917, but you also deserve to be cancelled. I don't know if that was apparent in the initial deservings, but nonetheless.
yeah, people don't seem to understand just how horrible like the czarist regime was. Like it wasn't just even a prison house of nation. Well, let me caveat because I still think Russia's still a prison house of nations even today, but it was like the prison house of
They did
nations,
a good.
nations.
There was a lot to decolonize, and there was a lot that still needed to be decolonized. It was a complicated thing, but it was the first large scale decolonization project ever,
Yeah,
or well, since the Roman times. Like,
yeah.
the next
And
big thing like that to happen was in Africa and the Middle East. Um,
I think Haiti was,
Haiti
and
was a
Haiti
small
before that,
country.
yeah.
I'm on about size.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Haiti came before Soviet Union.
yeah.
Yeah, late 1800s
But
because the U.S. went and crushed it.
and the Russian Empire was fucking gigantic. Like I don't think people remember it had like a population of like I think it was like
Back in them days, it was top ends 100 million. It was like 180, 190 million.
yeah, it was like something in that territory, almost 200 million. That's freaking insane.
I
Um,
know that like by the time of the mid 20s, the population was in the early 220s, maybe to 240 million. I can't remember exactly. There was a lot of people in that nation. By the end of the Soviet Union, there's about 320 million people in the borders of the Soviet Union. About the same population as the United States. Um, but the what was I gonna say? Yeah, okay, yeah. So there's get a picture of the Tsar. So by the time of the last famine of the last famine of the Russian Empire, which was the 1930 famine of Ukraine. I know it seems mad that's during the time of the Soviet Union, but that's the way it's seen from the Soviet perspective. It's the last great famine, and that's why it's a famine of the Russian Empire. And I'll give context for that. So a century of time from there, but all the way back 100 years, every 5 years, there was a great famine in that region of the Russian Empire in the what's it Ukraine and even to Russia area around that territory. Um, and it was, you know, weather might be one of the big causes for the issues, but actually the big problem was that the Russian Empire didn't care for properly industrializing agriculture, so they couldn't starve off the famines. That's why when that last famine happened, they didn't have any problems after that. They managed to get to a point where even when the weather was bad, they still had enough crops to grow and could be contingent about it and deal with the problem earlier on because of their greater capacity to know when a problem is occurring, have a better track of the weather, and better organize their grain production on the most arid of land possible, having science to boot to study the land well and understand what is best for and not for growing crops. But 100 years, every 5 years, there was famines, and the majority of the cause for those famines was the disgraceful manner that which the Russian Empire was ran. Very it Whether it be the fault of the actual ruling class of Russia or whether it be the fault of their imperializing outreaches or both. Nonetheless, Russian Empire for the last 200 years had been being shaped by mostly British but also French and American capital.
yeah, yeah. It was mostly like British, then it was like French, um,
The US came in
American.
late. They came in post Spanish American War
Yeah,
because that's when they were contracted to build a load of Mosin Nagants.
and I think there was also some a Dutch company in the Caucasus that was involved in some oil extract.
Um, the thing that really kicked off the Russian and American relationship was the Russo-Japanese War, 1905.
Excuse me. Yeah, then we'll get like Caleb coming in and saying, didn't you know about Russia during the American Civil War and blah yada yada yada. We're talking about like major
Well,
kickoff
I'm also
relation.
talking specifically about imperialism as well,
Yeah.
because that old school colonialism is a little different. Because we got to remember that while the British Empire was an imperialist country in the 1800s, the other nations didn't. So I think France reached its imperialist epoch around the 1870s, 1880s. I think it was the 1880s. Um, the end point of the Franco-Prussian War. Um, and I would argue that German Empire was around 1880s, 1890s. America was 1898 to 1903. It was the last of the group to rise up.
Yep.
Lenin, however, rightly presumed that it would be the next upstarting empire. And that's because, well, I mean, he'd been watching France fucking shit itself and rebuild itself and shit itself and rebuild itself for the last, like, 30, 40 years of his life. So I'm surprised that, I'm not surprised he didn't think the French would come. And he was alive for the Great Depression of the German Empire of 1910. Made sense that it would be the British next. It's sort of like how we could all be like, well, yeah, maybe the EU could do something, but we all know it's China that's going to rise up next because they're the only empire that's really stable enough and strong enough to be the next empire. Oh, but wait, they have a red flag. Oh no, debunked.
Ah, fucking owned. China can't do imperialism.
How can red flag do the imperialism? What, fucking gonna feel really upset when we start talking about the social imperialism.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that is something that a lot of modern day Khrushchevites do not like to talk about is Soviet social imperialism.
They
It's
didn't
one of
like to
those
talk
like
about it. If you ask Mao, they didn't like to talk about it back in the day either.
but yeah, what's it? But yeah, there was like a famine every few years in the Russian Empire, and then and then there was like there was like one during the Civil War era for obvious fucking reasons, and then there was one in I believe I'm trying to remember. It was parts of Ukraine in the Soviet Union because you got to remember there was parts of Ukraine outside of it as well. There was some parts of south southern Russia. I believe this is like the Cossack area. Uh, the I'm trying to remember the names.
Well, there was so the easiest way to put it is there was a widespread famine across the Soviet Union,
Yeah, like
east and
Kazakhstan,
west.
another place.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it mainly hit Ukraine. Um, and it wouldn't surprise me if the one that hit Kazakhstan was pretty harsh because if the wide and open sky plains of Ukraine can cause problems if everything isn't going your way. You've got the weather problems and the kulak problems. I imagine that the harsh environments of a lot of areas of Kazakhstan. I know it isn't all like that, but they um, in a lot of period areas of that part of the world, you can get some extreme scorching temperatures. So if the weather was being dry in Ukraine, it was likely being really, really dry in Kazakhstan, and Ukraine being well, it was the breadbasket of the Russian Empire, and the Soviet Union adopted that contradiction, and unfortunately didn't do the best of jobs of dealing with it either. Um, so Ukraine also ended up being the breadbasket of the Soviet Union, and so when Ukraine kulaks, um, who obviously knew that, decided to use that to their advantage during a famine, that greatly affected the other regions of the Soviet Union.
Yeah. Yeah, I got the image right here. It's mostly as I posted that in the chat. But yeah, what's it? Yeah, but after that, pretty much the Soviet Union was pretty much self-sufficient in terms of food after that. I mean, you had like World War II, but that's like a fucking aberration, an aberration in the period, um, and fucking losing my train of thought too. What's it? Fucking so what is Keaton Mansfield or Keaton Manspread trying to convey English with this flag? He's trying to push for class collaborationism, honestly,
Well,
and
yeah.
red brownism.
Well, I mean, it's a common tactic used by fascists. You try and represent as much as the left and as much of the right as you can in your angles, and try and preach that you're above those things. Like, fuck me, I bet Cultured Thug is fucking flicking off to this image right now as we speak. Absolutely going for a right fucking beat of his paddy whack. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah, because this is the stuff that he gets up and dreams about. These fucking weirdos.
he's probably joined the CPI right now, right this moment.
Yeah, he'll be the fascist wing of the CPI.
He'll do a Dugan. He'll represent the right wing of the CPI. Be like the Nazbols. And then he can leave in like 10 years' time and write a book about it. Go on Russian TV once every 2-3 weeks and talk about the great Eurasian theory. He's like fucking Russian Slavoj Žižek, except he does more cocaine. Which you would think would make Slavoj more cooler, but no, Slavoj does just the right amount of cocaine. Flying bastards. Fuck off.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how Caleb will, in one breath, say nationalism is bad, but on the other hand, be promoting like all these like extreme nationalist monarchist groups and other such things. It's like contradiction much.
I thought we're supposed to solve contradictions, not make them.
Well, apparently, Russia solved the Crimean, no, not the Crimean, the Chechenian question, according to Flame of Liberation. Didn't you know that? It's been solved forever. And then I posted like a picture of the German occupation of Czechoslovakia, and I said the Chechnyan question has been solved forever.
Sorry, I haven't read Dugan.
Yeah, you haven't read Dugan. If you haven't read Dugan, Hitler, Mosley, Lyndon LaRouche, you can't comment on those people anymore, or Caleb either, because you're not intelligent enough.
Ah, I mean, the whole situation with the whole, whoa, we don't like Nazis, we're against Ukraine or whatever the fuck, or no, the Nazbols aren't Nazis, they're Nazbols, you see, it's different. It's like, okay, we already have a historical event that proves this wrong. So, Germany and America, does anyone know? Ding, ding, ding question going on here. Does anyone know when Germany and America went to war during the World War II? I'll give you a hint, it's not 1939.
1941.
Yep. Because what's quite interesting is that before 1941, the Germans fucking adored the Americans. Actually, Hitler was really pissed off when he found out that a German warship had accidentally started war with the Americans. And they then proceeded to take his anger out on the Americans because they got to keep up face. If Hitler started losing his shit with the German people, he probably wouldn't still have this image as this great, like, proprietor of German strength and all that. He's just getting pissed with everyone. So obviously he calls the Americans the problem. It's like, not. Have you ever dealt with someone with really bad narcissistic personality disorder? It's like dealing with that. Everything always becomes the other person's fault. So he blames America for his warboat shooting them, and then proceeds to strip everything other than, I think, other than the America train. I think it's the only thing um that wasn't changed, but they proceed to strip Germany of like all of the American named places and other things like that. Like there's some things that are left, but they get rid of all the big stuff. They were really upset. Like they really
Yeah.
really liked
One
America
one
too.
one of the few good things they did, purging Americanism.
Oh, they didn't do that. Don't
I
get your
wish,
fucking hopes
yeah.
up. No, they purged it in a very British way where they purged it, but they made sure they kept the notes. They anglified it, or well, you don't really need to anglify American stuff. That just makes it drink tea more. They Germanified it, um, which just means that they threw up on it while shitting on the floor and screaming at the same time. Sorry, we Europeans, we get along quite well, you see. But yeah, it would be like turning around and saying that because Germany and America all of a sudden butted heads, America was no longer fascist. Well, I'd say no one in their right mind would disagree with me that America was fascist in the 1940s, but Jesus Christ.
Then you got fucking Caleb. Like literally on his Twitter bio, he has a quote by Franklin D. Roosevelt. Just straight up, not even like anything communist related. It's just a quote by FDR.
Um, I don't see it.
It's on his Twitter,
I'm on his Twitter. I'm on his
the
bio.
the profile banner.
Oh, oh, I see. I'm like bio. We must find practical controls over blind economic forces and blindly selfish men. Um, uh, do you mind not making it a contrived mouthful of asinine shite? You're literally the head of the world's fucking upcoming empire. This is a good thing. This is apparently a good thing. Um, where the fuck is that? Some of the buildings look like saloons. Is this in the south?
It's like near like looks like in the somewhere in the west, honestly.
What, like
Like if
Cali?
I had, no, I think it's more like Arizona, New Mexico kind of area.
But that
I don't
makes
know why.
sense.
It just looks like the same uh climate, honestly. Because I've been through there once, but yeah, it looks similar-ish.
Well, I mean, the thing that gives me the definitely that it's in a territory that was once former Mexico is that the saloon style is very similar to Spanish colonial building styles. That's what gives the South its distinct look, is its Spanish style construction, not Anglo. For the most part, anyway, most Anglo constructions in those regions were like big aristocrat, like, and I mean feudal era aristocrats housing, so much more powerful than the modern day aristocrat. They're Petit-Bourgeois, essentially. Slaver housing. Good evening, comrade.
So Keith Mansfield would love it there.
Yeah, I mean, he likes to dress in his little slave role playing outfit all the time.
He
Sorry
just
for
loves
putting
the
in.
whip.
No, it's. Uh, the IDF might just attack Jenin. Yeah, I've been reading the notifications as you've been sending me while I've been talking because they pop up in the bottom right. Well, they don't pop up for everyone else, but they pop up for me in the bottom right corner.
What's going? Oh, there's some. Oh,
Oh,
Palestine.
a long list of horrible shit's been going down in Palestine over the last few days. Well, to be honest, with how quickly this is written up, you could even probably still get away with using the term the last few hours. Um,
They're probably taking advantage of like the world's attention
uh,
on other things like Ukraine, and so they can do their
no, it's not
horrible
about that.
shit.
It's not about that. It's not about taking advantage. They know that they could get away with this shit in a
Even
time
yeah,
of crisis. It's because during capitalist crashes, Great Depressions, the dialectic accelerates. That's what dialectical acceleration means. Accelerationism is a different thing. Dialectical acceleration is when the quantitative contradictions of capitalism meet a qualitative leap. Yeah, it's continuous. But this is a current raising contradiction. They've learned how to keep pushing up the ante. This is summer. So the Great Depression started in 2019. So this has just been something that's been cooking up ever since that started. Conflict around the world always starts when a Great Depression happens. It's just when they go from, because I mean you can see that they've been picking and prodding for how they can do this in a more long-term outlet. I mean, and Britain has been preparing for a world war for about 6 years now. The US has spent the last 4 or 5 years scrambling to re-outfit itself, maybe six now as well. I don't know what the French are doing, but it won't surprise if they're doing the same. The Germans and the French are basically joint to the hip militarily. So, however the French jump, Germans jump same height. Um, so the world on the imperialist outlet has been preparing for a war that's not the same as their um, world police wars. Um, as in, they're preparing for a war where the battle is gonna be against powers with just as large of a military and just as technological of a military as theirs. That's why they're all shitting themselves right now. Actually,
Yeah.
I've spoken with a couple of comrades who have brought this up, and that is the thought that maybe one of the European superpowers has dragged the US in a war it'll never win. Sort of similar to how the US, as there's plenty of receipts of evidence that show that the US set up Japan and Nazi Germany, and the British helped set up Nazi Germany to create havoc in Europe. The British wanted the Soviet Union gone. The Americans wanted to start on the Soviet Union and the British without actually ever directly start. Well, the British and the French, sorry, without directly starting on any of them. Basically, the British were trying to throw out the thing in its periphery that it saw the biggest challenger to its power, which had them not think enough about the Americans. And then you had, which is actually where Churchill come into it halfway through the war. He wanted to, he was actually forced harsher rationing on the British and literally caused genocides in via famine in the third world. In places like Bengal, but it wasn't the only place in the British Empire that had a famine during the war. It's just the one that people talk about. Um, it caused famines throughout the empire to stock up on food so that he could challenge the the American Empire for aid at the post-war period. But it's too late for the British Empire to go toe to toe with the US at that point. And then the US, they wanted to challenge for hegemony against everything that it saw as its threat. The British, the French, the Soviets wanted to get all of them. It's not unlikely to think that an empire may have set up Russophobia to become a larger problem in America for the use of organizations like Bellingcat to sow discord. It's not a shout out to the platform. Fucking half of the people watching this are probably Zoomers, so I have to make sure that they know Discord was a word before the thing existed. I want to have my boomer moment. Let me have my boomer moment. But to sow discord, and then when things really brew up, set the ground for a no quarter to Russia motif and push for a war. You want to know some of this interesting? Is the country that pushed show no ground. We've already shown our ground. Putin didn't pull out when we said pull out. This is it. We're doing it. Motive has been the British. They have been absolutely at the fucking throat of it all. They were the first country to say let's send in troops.
And I think what's his name? Keir Starmer, our friend of the show, leader of the Labour Party, also apparently called for a no-fly zone in Ukraine as well. And this is supposed to be the allegedly, I'm using air quotes here,
Left.
socialist, yeah, left party here.
Well, come on. He's a socialist in the special way. The Tony Blair way.
Yeah, the one where you get to maintain private property and corporations just become patriotic to the nation or whatever.
He says, "Oh, he's saying support to Russia." I remember, sorry, she's saying that, I can't read. Yeah, so saying support to Russia. I remember that France was supporting Russia or something on TV. Yeah, France and Russia, they're getting along a bit. I had a Jewish comrade tell me that he's pretty certain that um the EU and Russia are gonna start fornicating with each other. Yeah, I know it's going to be an abusive relationship. We all know it will be, but they're going to fornificate. Fornificate. They're going to fornicate with each other, and then the British and the Chinese will likely get it on. Oh, that sounds weird, but the Labour Party, Keir Starmer's Labour Party, that motherfucker is they're suggesting to get a relationship going on with China, get a more cordial relationship going on, which I mean trade relationships and cordial deals and getting onto people's markets, that's the beginning of imperialist relationships. And if that's our angle of getting out the EU and not being tied to the mess of America, um I viewer engagement, I'll let you guys decide what the fuck that means.
Wait a minute. Are you implying that treaties and other such things, this is like part of imperialism? What? According to what's his name, Daniel Burke, we need to have a peace summit between Xi, Putin, and Trump.
Come on, guys. We just need the imperialists to agree on what's right for Ukraine. Notice how
Yeah, we just
the Ukrainians weren't mentioned to be sat at that fucking debate table at that discussion table at that treaty summit. Like, if there's going to be a
yeah,
summit, the nation that's involved needs to have a voice, regardless of whom is the elected leadership of it.
yeah. Where have we seen that before? I think there was an incident that I do remember that happening.
I
It was
mean,
something in 1938, country in Central
oh, you're
Europe.
thinking of
Yeah,
Czechoslovak.
Yeah, Czech.
It's
Or as they
funny, you
call it
piss
now.
off the Czech people by calling it Chechnya, Slovakia, and then picks off the
Yeah.
Chechnya people by calling them Chechnya. Don't worry, you will definitely get battered if you do it. 110% or 911% if you want to be funny about it.
I think officially one of its names outside of the Czech Republic is Czechia or Czech
Czechia.
Czechia, which sounds like I'm eating some kind of chips. Just get me a Czechia
I mean,
when I go grab me some.
maybe if you're one of the inbreds of London. Hey, you got to keep you. Yeah. Um, Especially given that most inbreds from in this country are all fucking upper middle class. So they're all posh. They've only ever seen the word chips written down. They don't know how to say it. Can I have some chips, mate? I think we got Americans that don't even know what chips are.
Fuck me. What's his name? I think it was like in the 90s or whatever. George W. Bush, who was a blue blood Connecticut old school money Anglo-Saxon motherfucker of the upper class elite. When he went into like a grocery store or whatever, he had no idea what a what do you call it, a cash register was.
I
He
do
was like,
believe it
"What
has
in
something to do with the money.
the monies? What's this newfangled thing called a cash register?" He's doing like the Mr. Burns thing where he pretends like he's 10,000 years, like 100 years old.
Just messaging the boss man.
Gotcha. So you wanna? I think we've pretty much covered the Tsar flag in depth to getting the point across. I guess we could probably move on to like either Caleb's Lumpen comments
Well,
or his
so that's
Bonaparte
actually
ones.
someone that lines everything up right now. So I just need to message Jason because Jason might come on.
Gotcha.
Actually, the
If he is,
next
then
topic.
more the mayor, because that would be a good subject for him to get on.
Discord. Yeah, the real name for Discord is Discord. That's retroactive. So every time you ever look at it now and you look at it on the screen, it'll change. It'll already be Discord. You don't have to change anything. I've tapped into your mind meld and done some weird Ayn Rand black magic because we're all the big degrowthers. Oh, God damn
Yep,
it! Click the fuck out of that.
we want everybody to be poor.
Think. Willkommen.
I am here.
Hello,
You
sir.
sure about that?
So we're on right now?
Yeah, we're already live. Let me get the Discord capture working.
Can you get that image up? Because that's what I want to talk about, because that shit is unacceptable.
Yeah, there we go. Just learning how to stream. Ah, oh yeah, on the OBS. OBS sounds way too much like IBS. I think we can all agree with that. Every time I say I'm having technical problems, people think I'm going to shit myself. Okay, so there's two to bring up. Okay, let me share my screen so y'all can see what I'm doing. And watch, this is just going to change the aspect of everything now. Yeah, I didn't think this bit through. Um, show IBS. Yeah, fuck.
Is your cursor a hammer and sickle?
It is. It's actually one from like 2004.
Yeah, I noticed it. That has like the pixels of it. Very retrograde. I like it.
Like I think it was. I don't even think it's from XP. I think whoever made it was still using Windows NM, which is the one between 97 and I know it probably was for 97 actually. I didn't think about 97. The one I was thinking of was between 97 and 95. Obscure Windows knowledge. My knowledge of computers basically stops at about 2013. Okay. Yeah, I know what I'm doing, I promise.
Yeah, the one I sent you. Yes, that one. This. The Lumpen are criminalized elements. Wow.
White guy moment.
Dude, that's, you know what? Okay, let me just hit this shit for a second. You know who he knows the Lumpen are unemployed people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's different kinds of Lumpen, but he knows that. You just called everybody who is unemployed because of capitalist crisis Lumpen and inherently criminal. Like, I'm sorry, Caleb, but there is actually a difference. But wow, okay, yeah, okay.
He's actually specifically gaslighting here as well, because the Panthers didn't say most black people are lumpen. They said most black proletarians are, by technicality, lumpen proletariat. They're disenfranchised. He's actually actively gaslighting black people now.
And then turning around in his stupid meetings, going, "Oh, hey, look, we have stuff by Fred Hampton." Like, God, dude, you know what? The best meme I've ever seen regarding the Will Smith slapping Chris Rock thing was somebody reposted that, but put Caleb Maupin's head on it, and then put his own head on Will Smith and said, "Keep my comrade's name out of your fucking mouth."
I gotta check that out.
Oh no, it's when he did his like new intro thing where he speaks as if he's on the same level as Fred fucking Hampton. Fred Hampton was an industrial worker who could barely read when he became a communist. He had to teach himself how to read because you didn't get a proper education if you were an industrial worker in the African population. Do you know what they did? They taught you how to use your hands. They taught you how to use your hands and how to look at the work you got to do, and they used to give you the most menial and hard back breaking of labor that they could give you. Um, Most of it was working in car factories, fitting cars together, and if you weren't doing that, because that was the lucky job, you were in the mines. You
But to use my fucking hands.
fucking
I mean, the fucking arrogance of this goddamn dick to sit there and say and like invoke Fred Hampton's name to support his bullshit while he shits on black people, he shits on the lumpen. And like he's just trying to leech cred. See, oh look, we're down with the Panthers. You contradict everything the Panthers say, and then say like, we're down with them, and we're like, no man, you fucking hate them. Your theory despises theirs, and their theory despises yours. You son of a bitch.
And do you know what as well? Like, I was watching Black Internationalist stream that she did with the AARP the PRP. I'm very good at this abbreviation game, I promise. And she has a really fiery speech that I do want to like clip. It's like 10 minutes, I think, or 5 minutes of the video. And it starts off with like, you get all these people in the first world that want to rep that they like the Panthers, that they support the Panthers. Yeah, what they don't even seem to realize, or purposefully choose not to realize, is that the Panthers were all about the lumpen. Actually, that was their biggest crowning achievement. It wasn't their idea initially. It came from people before them, but they were the praxis of it. It's like fucking mm, uh, it's like when Maoism was first put into active praxis. It wasn't the first time those ideas had been put together, but nonetheless, the active praxis is where we apply the achievement. And the Panthers, it was their active praxis that they brought alight the struggle of the lumpen proletariat. There was also a really other good point that she made that was about, the Battle of the Algiers shows you both sides of the lumpen proletariat. And actually, there's a massive plot point in the Battle of the Algiers. Now, anyone who hasn't watched that needs to watch that. That's Black Panther educational program material. So, I mean, all you people who say you really like the Panthers, I'm sure you'll love the Battle of the Algiers. But there's a massive plot point in it with this lumpen proletarian who originally was a bit of a scoundrel at the start and was a bit off the nose and was pain in the ass, straightens out, becomes a radical, supports the struggle of the Algiers, and there's a big plot point where they have to go against Lumpen-Bourgeoisie and stand for the principles of the lumpen proletariat and the proletariat, and it was a really good example of showing not only the importance of the lumpen proletariat to struggle, but the fact that they're even important in the global south as well. This isn't a strictly global north issue. This is a thing that goes all around, and it was a really key point to what she says, and that's that if you don't organize the lumpen proletariat, the enemy will organize the lumpen proletariat. I keep saying this to people, is that the one thing that you see with fascists is that I keep telling people, when people tell me that someone's good because they like the lumpen, I say, well, that's not a good sign entirely, because the liking the lumpen could go one of two ways. They're either a good communist or a really smart fascist. Because if you look through history, the fascists have organized the lumpen. So have communists too. Because they are a disenfranchised and a very extremely oppressed class. They are very organizable. And I mean, the place that she said was the most likely place to organize the lumpen would be prisons. And I conferred in my comment and said prisons, but I'd also argue on the streets as well. Because in those positions, camaraderie and family-like structures are more likely to be built, a greater consciousness of condition. But also, when we have absolutely fuck all and we're on our asses, we're most likely to listen. I'll say that from experience of being on the streets myself.
The best thing Mim ever did was organize the prison chapter.
I could give a fucking absolute hell yeah to that, brother.
Okay, so, you know what? I'm sorry, I'm not done ranting yet.
I keep going.
Okay.
You got all the time in the world.
Okay, so fucking the lumpen a criminal element. So what, like every disabled person is just a criminal now? So somebody's standing there because they're missing a fucking leg because it got fucking torn off in some kind of industrial machine because the dickhead capitalist wasn't watching his fucking safety protocols as he's supposed to. That guy's a criminal now, right?
Well, I mean,
like what? You want to just fucking call every lumpen? Like, not even differentiate, just all lumpen. Lumpen everything is criminal. Like, just take every disabled person and call them a criminal.
mind you,
If that's not fucking ableist, what is?
mind you, disabled people who still work a job, those in which aren't middle class, so the lower proletariat who are disabled are classified as lumpen because they are disenfranchised in a way where they can't suffice within the system, within what is deemed within the normal fashions of functional society by the structures of capitalist realism. That's what actually, for Caleb's gaslighting, decrees that the majority of the black proletariat are lumpenized. If you go to their communities, their conditions are akin to a third world style of condition, which makes them out of step for what is the bottom line of what would be seen as proletariat from the first world angle.
Everybody who loses their job because of a capitalist crisis and is now on, unemployment benefits, they're garbage now.
The gangsters, gangbangers.
What about prostituted women? That's about as lumpen as you can get. And so, like, these people are just criminal element? I mean, technically it's illegal, but, like, what are you just going to write them off as criminal people? That's funny because all of revolutionary experience has done the opposite. What did Mao do with prostitutes? Did he say that they were garbage and that they should be discarded and ignored for revolution? No, he offered them fucking land. He says, what do you want to be? You want to be a prostituted woman or you want land? Guess what they chose? They chose to have fucking land. What happened in the revolution in Cuba? What did they do with the prostitutes? They throw them all in fucking jail for being prostitutes and being, just a loser criminal element? No, they gave them job training, gave them like real fucking jobs. And guess what? Pretty much universally they said, yeah, I'd rather have a real fucking job or go to school than be a prostituted person. This is the complete opposite. And the Soviet Union did the same fucking thing when they outlawed prostitution. They say, here's free education, here's a job, here's a money so you don't have to be a prostitute. So what is Caleb to do? The opposite of what all revolutionary experience has told us works. Even from a capitalist perspective, the Nordic model of decriminalizing women being prostituted or selling sex and criminalizing the John while offering programs to get out of it, to get out of prostitution, has worked wonders. And in fact, in capitalism, the only thing that has ever worked to any significant degree has been the Nordic model. And Caleb Lumpen would take all of that experience, all of that praxis, good-ass praxis, throw it all in the garbage and just say, oh, they're just a criminal element. They're to be discarded the same as someone who's like a hardcore, like narco trafficker.
He
Fuck you.
He claims to have supported the revolution of China. Oh, here's an interesting factoid for Caleb about China. For massive periods of time during the initial Chinese Revolution, the Chinese People's Liberation Army was mostly lumpen proletariat. Actually, Mao goes out to quite specifically define the lumpen proletariat, and they're people who have been chucked off their land, been thrown out of their homes, thrown out of their jobs, and typically lived in between cities and in between towns, and they were normally semi-nomadic in the way they had to live. Very similar descriptor to what we see today with the modern lumpen proletariat. Nonetheless,
I mean, hell, you could even say landless peasants.
As well, yeah.
Might even fit that. And the peasants were fucking everything.
But yeah, they came into the definitive. So people who were thrown off of land that they were peasants to, or even people who were thrown out of their homes as workers, it was lumpen is a catch-all of the lower class, and that is a problem when we see people then describing like drug lords and mafia as lumpen proletariat. It gets sketchy. Because, I mean, lumpen aristocracy, I can understand someone making that expressionism then, because the lumpen aristocracy has been lumped in with the lumpen proletariat, even by the Panthers. But the lumpen Petit-Bourgeois and bourgeoisie have not. They have been a distinctly separate thing since the time of the Panthers. And Latin America has expanded that understanding. And these people will mash these things all together to the point where there is no class distinction in the lumpen proletariat. When lumpen proletariat may be a catch-all for declassed elements of the lower class, it's not exactly an entirely declassed sector. Like, I don't like the term declass. I find it abhorrent, because how is there no class in a class system? Like, that's an idiotic notion. Of course there's a relationship to production, and an interesting one that comes to the lumpen proletariat is that there's a vast wide array of relationship to the production, some that is completely defunct, other that's heavily integrated in the illegal market, but not all of that is by choice. So like, what does Caleb have to say about the conditions of lumpen proletarians that are enslaved by lumpen petit bourgeoisie, like literally enslaved?
Well, they're criminal elements. I think you made that clear.
Well, it's their fault they got in debts. That's probably what they'd say. They'd say, "Oh, it's their fault they got in debts." So would Caleb think it would be all right that if he got in debt with, I don't know, Tesco's, that they could imprison his firstborn son for 17 years or something like that, make him go work on plantation? Just something random and out of our ass, because, I mean, why is it all right for the lumpen to suffer and not have any representation? I mean, if material conditions deem revolutionary struggle, which these people claim they read Marx and Engels and Lenin and Stalin and all that crap, they apparently are really big fans, although I've heard some of them say that Lenin's 1917 imperialism no longer applies to the world. So I don't know, take salt when applying that they actually do care for the books, but or drink the salt. But if they've read the books, then they would know material conditions drive revolutionary potential. Then in the first world, and in any region or situation, the lumpen proletariat are most likely going to have the most amount of revolutionary potential. Like, I could understand an argument in the third world that maybe the third world proletariat are in an easier position for developing consciousness amongst each other and organizing. I don't know. I'm not in the third world. I couldn't tell you. But
I don't know, man. I think jerking off to Lincoln is probably the source of revolutionary potential.
Yeah.
Mate, I got the perfect thing for that,
And I also got to point out too what Caleb said, because I watched his video about the quote lumpen proletariat. He also said apparently that middle class people just like to romanticize the lumpen, and I'm just like,
What?
fuck you. Like, yeah, he actually said that straight up. He said the middle class just like to romanticize the lumpen. It's like, no, we recognize. I mean, I am not lumpen. I'm middle class, from the middle class, and I recognize that somebody who is down, who has pretty much almost nothing, who is just struggling to get by, is going to have far more revolutionary potential than somebody who has a good paying job, a house, or not even a house, just a nice apartment and a pension and other such things. It's like that kind of language is just like that. He's trying to make it seem like like all these third worlders are all just a bunch of middle class white guys, basically.
What the fucking irony on that one?
Yeah.
Actually, if anything,
Objecting.
so actually, I have been introduced to an even amount of white and black third worldists, but then technically not. So there's if anything, the most of them, though I haven't been able to speak much with them because they're in Arizona, and if any group is what's it, the hardest to have consistent contact with, it is the native Maoists. But there's some native Maoists who actually they're not really third worldists, but they're quite fond of us. So I'll take that as a win. But
Actually, yeah, that's a really good point. You know who's really lumping in the first world? Indigenous people.
well,
Oh, wait, we already know the patriotic socialist stance towards them, right?
Do you just want everybody to be poor? Well, actually, that's interesting because be liberal.
Why don't you
and
get on a plane and go back to Europe? Why don't you go back to hell where you came from, you fucking asshole?
because be liberal and and Caleb were actually talking, and they're talking about, and they're doing their usual anti-native shit. Degrowth apparently is fetishism, and apparently we just believe in like the noble savage myth apparently now. And it's bullshit.
Please don't kill native people and allow them to make decisions for themselves. I literally can't tell the difference between this and genocide.
come on, man. I've actually seen people say white genocide.
I've had people straight up tell me that I support white genocide. I'm like, what?
It's like, let me see if I can find a video of a South African farmer. What's it saying white genocide? Just to really rub in what they sound like. Oh, YouTube's doing the thing where I clicked on the box, but it doesn't want to acknowledge it.
It's so stupid. I mean, what a dishonest piece of shit Be Liberal is. Allow indigenous people to have rights over themselves and the land that they live on. Oh, this is like the same thing as Petit-Bourgeois ideology. This is like noble savage. No, it's not noble savage, it's self-determination. We're not saying they're better than us. We're saying that they have rights as people. That's not noble savage, you lying piece of human. I better stop YouTube terms of service.
Okay, I can't find anything quick and snappy of them just going whack genocide or however the fuck South Africans sound. They did not sound very South African at all. They sounded like Cleveland Brown then. Cleveland Brown, the South African fucking white farmer. No, I don't think that was how the show goes.
If anything pushes white genocide or wanting to kill white people, it's stupid shit like what Be Liberal just said.
Well, come on, man. Like apparently it's like fucking too much to accept that we might need to actually deconstruct.
This is just a right wing fucking talking point. If you just say, yeah, we should allow black people to be equal to whites. Oh, that's literally white genocide. We should allow indigenous people to have self-determination. Oh, it's just like white genocide and noble savage. It's the same fucking right-wing bullshit.
There's no political movement
and
to
Cultured
kill white
Bug
people.
has made the same argument as well.
This is exactly what needs.
It's an exaggeration. It's not even an exaggeration. It's a falsehood. There's no white genocide. There's no political movement to kill white people.
There you go.
Want to go.
But the party does call for one.
If they want to go, go. Absolutely. Fuck off. Get out. But no one's calling for white genocide. White people have a home. It's called Europe. And there's no such thing as white people either. They're called European people. Gotta get that out your system as well, guys. Come on.
I'm sorry,
thought-
when did Roosevelt even do that?
Um.
All right, never.
Well, you see, do you want to know who was inspired by Roosevelt?
The Fiera?
Benito Mussolini.
Never heard of him.
Sorry, I just saw that thing in your Google search. Classic autism.
No, it's a form of autism. I was looking into it.
It's OG autism, not like the kids today.
See, I'm an Asperger, so I was like, if I'm an Asperger, is classical autism the dysfunctional one? And no, it's not. It's one of the high functioning autisms.
Speaking of Mussolini, you know what? You should. I'm gonna send you a video. You should play that one. Oh, we can't hear it.
Yeah, you won't be able to, but everyone else will. That's the downside of Discord streaming.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
Show no mercy, slaughter them like sheep. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit.
Oh no, they're fighting back and they're really good. Oh shit.
How could this happen to me?
Oh, I zoomed in the aspect ratio. Oh.
Dude, nothing will ever surpass what Jim Carrey did to Mussolini's daughter.
What did he
Nothing will
do?
ever. Oh, you didn't see that?
No, I've never seen it.
Okay. Jim Carrey put out a picture of Mussolini hanging upside down, and he said, "This is what fascists deserve." And then Mussolini's I think his granddaughter or his daughter, can't remember, replied and said, "You are a bastard." And then Jim Carrey tweeted back, "Turn that frown upside down."
So freaking.
What an angel.
11 out of
For all the
10.
crazy shit that Jim Carrey says in real life, that's got to be the sanest thing he's ever done.
Oh, he fucking, that was about the greatest fucking own I have ever seen.
God. That even beats fucking tagging US senators with 9/11 memes on 9/11.
Oh god.
I'm
Who's doing that?
new ideas for fucking September.
Oh, don't get my ass banned from Twitter.
I already have like ran out of Gmails to make Twitter accounts with because when I made a new account recently to get back on Twitter, they blocked it instantly. Oh, thanks. I left it like 2 months as well, or a month. I don't know. I'm not very good with time of the long periods. Tell you when 2 hours have passed pretty easy because I'm used to streaming for that as long periods of time all the time because things get into rambly messes.
Yeah, you had that one stream that went on like 8 hours. Like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah.
I fall asleep at work a lot as well. Like I'm surprised I haven't been sacked. And maybe I've been put in an unsackable position, so I'm just sleeping on the job.
Well, that's what happens when you get unions in, right?
Yeah.
Is that why Haz is against unions?
Oz is against unions?
Yeah,
Oh,
he
yeah.
literally made a tweet where
Oh,
he said,
fuck.
"Fuck unions. Union organizing is the bad."
Says the guy who's like a Twitch streamer sitting in his like I don't even know what kind of like apartment or whatever.
Let's just say mom's basement. That's what they
Yeah.
always say to me.
Oh, if I don't have, I gotta have. I forgot I gotta have Discord open for you to be. I gotta,
Mom's basement. Mom's basement. I'm 40 fucking years old. I'm in a fucking apartment.
uh, I'm surprised they don't do it to me. Actually, why don't I do it? Then
Hey, that Barney pick is starting to freak me out.
yeah, it's freaking me out. I'm trying to like manage everything so that when I click onto Google,
Just looking at my soul.
So they're gonna morph into Mussolini.
now you're really small. Now you're really big.
Hey, what the fuck are you doing in my picture?
What's happened to your face? It's because the thing was half off the bottom of the screen. Jason's still drinking that American Poison by the lighter.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was mopping or whatever, walking around saying smoking was bourgeois. Fuck.
Well, yeah, you see, Harrison, Henry, Harrison Ford, that big capitalist from the 30s.
I'm
Hey,
sorry, man, but I'm all for no smoking laws, but I'm not for outright banning it because we've learned that that doesn't work. Dude, there's an expression I heard a long time ago called there are three things with a man you never mess with. You never mess with his money, you never mess with his car, and you never mess with his woman. I don't have any of those. Can I have a fucking cigar? Can I at least have that?
No, we've already prepared for the lack of the worm, so it's you don't mess with you don't mess with his liquor, his car, and his marijuana.
Okay, yeah, I guess we can add marijuana to the list.
Or Americans, because they've probably forgotten that it's a "h" instead of a "j", so they're just like marijuana. You got any marijuana? That's probably why people's got used to the Mary Jane thing, because it just stops Americans from getting lost. You just say Mary Jane, and
The weed.
it doesn't work for the
Or
Spanish.
that's
What's that, Mary Jane? Hello, Mary Jane.
marijuana.
Well, no, what if they do meet a lady called Mary Jane? Then they are in a bit of a position where they've either got to
Yeah,
commit.
Mary Jane Watson.
Yeah, so it'd be for the Spanish, it'd be Mary Jane Watson.
Still, my favorite one was the whitest kid you know, the Civil War on drugs. I don't know if you saw that.
I have not.
Okay, they did it. You know who the whitest kids you know are, right? Trevor Moore and all them.
Caleb, B. Liberal, Haas,
Yeah.
No, I mean
Jack off
the comedy.
Dingle.
Well,
I don't.
the comedy group they did a parody of the Civil War, but those group of guys thought that it was about the North was trying to ban weed, but they kept calling it the weed stuff. They're trying to ban the weed stuff. Oh, we better join the Confederacy to save the weed stuff. So they're in the whole Civil War thinking they're defending legalized weed.
You gotta defend the weed, though. That is an important task. And if the person has been given that task and they fail that task, you're gonna have a lot of angry stoners.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that Abraham Lincoln literally wrote that he got stoned.
Well, there's also a diary entry from Nikolai Bukharin saying that Stalin rolled up and dumped a big old bag of weed on the desk and said, "This is a gift from me and Lysenko. Enjoy." And Bukharin then later quoted saying in his diary saying it was the best weed he'd ever smoked in his life. I think he used the word skunk. I can't remember.
Well,
Which,
I don't know if
if
he
he
used the
did,
word
that's got to be
skunk.
the oldest use of the word skunk I've ever heard of. But that's I've had many people claim to me that is actually in his diaries. I've seen a screenshot of the English version.
Because I know there was that quote by Lincoln that said one of his great pleasures in life is sitting on his porch with a he said with a pipe of hemp.
Big old pop of
Now I
him.
don't think it was rope hemp. I think if it was in his pipe, it was marijuana.
Well, you see, the thing with the hemps is that uh, it's most of it grows the marijuana. It just depends on how much marijuana's sproutings on that hempings. But if you encourage any weed in the right direction, you can make it stronger.
Well, they also found harvest notes from some of the founding fathers. They were like separating seeds by potency.
They're all a bunch of fucking
They
stoners.
were. They had wheat plantations.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like being stoners anymore. Now it sounds like a big old slave trade business thingy.
They were. They were selling drugs.
I thought, but guys, I've had people going on about how Lenin said that the Americans in the revolution freed themselves from feudal slavery. So, checkmate on you using literal historical materialism that slavery didn't end in the US until just before the 1900s.
Oh shit.
Owned.
Yeah, didn't Arthur Morgan have a speech on that or something?
Yeah, but there was like a big issue with that. Like even after Lincoln ended slavery, he didn't actually. It was they had to rewrite the Constitution. And I think it was 1905 or something like that, or it was 1890 something. It was somewhere between the the 1890s to 1910. They had to do a big rewritey because the Constitution didn't acknowledge black people were people.
Yeah, so
Or
they just had to like
women being people.
Oh yeah, that came a little later. Um, it was like 1917 or 1920 or something like that. I think it was 1917 in Britain, and then I think it was a little later in America because the suffragette movement,
Yeah.
which was led by those evil Marxists. Even my sociology teacher in the year and a half of sixth form that I did before acid sent my head through my ass sideways. Well, actually, that happened halfway through sixth form, but um, the other, what's it, uh, 3/4 of a year was a fun experience of barely managing to turn up. But during my sociology lessons there, they even taught us that the first wave of feminism was indeed the Marxism feminism, and then the second wave is liberal feminism, and then the third wave is rad feminism, which I guess would be the compadre to radical liberalism, which is anyone knows my position on that. Radical liberalism is just another twisted
What's
form of
this?
fascism.
So just like everything else, capitalism slowly made it worse.
It does its best. I think you just don't appreciate the what capitalism does for you. Like does it not tickle your testicles that we live in a system where they like to they commit the murder and then people get consumer goods for it in the first world, and then they commit the slavery to continue those consumer goods rolling
Yeah,
in.
but we live in a society.
That middle class people are the largest demographic for use of opiates, and those opiates mostly came from Afghanistan.
Oh yeah, what's now the Taliban has just outlawed that again.
Oh, guys, I thought that the Taliban were the worst thing ever. It seems that the republic that America put in place was fucking worse because the Taliban at least outlawed fucking opiates. Like, I ain't no supporter of the Taliban, but I can see that it's better that opiates not be legal than be legal. I mean, medicine, I can see why that's useful, but there's ways about that, but it's not a necessity. And as someone who has had to take that as medication for injuries before,
Yeah, but you got to keep
fuck
in
that.
mind, they're at a position where they're not receiving the aid they used to, and they need to get farmers to growing food again.
As that as well, yeah.
Well, I mean, food's a little bit more important than,
Well,
heroin profits.
Yeah.
In general, well, I'm just thinking of the prospects of things, but in general, they were relying entirely of imports because the Americans set up Afghanistan the same way the British set up Bengali, exact same situation, actually the exact same crop, opium. The British grew a few other things as well in Bengal, but it was mostly opium. Actually, the Bengali famines were caused because of the unrelenting want to grow opium and fuck all interest given to the rice, which was being hit by the famines the hardest.
I'm I'm just imagining Caleb watching this because he's going to be watching this. He does this all the time. And he's going to be watching this and he's going to be like, "Oh, all this drug talk from these fucking degenerates."
What's it? I need to do the thing where I do, because you can put people's ats inside your description. So if I do that, when he goes and searches himself, it will definitely come up in his feed.
Oh, if he wants to watch it, he can watch it. If he doesn't want to watch it,
Well, I mean, he's gonna see the
Yeah.
segment on your show anyway. So like, because he obviously still watches it. He's #1 fan. Like, how can you turn on your fans like this, Jason?
Or he'll have somebody like Be Liberal tell him about it.
Asked to debate him like several times, gets blocked before he starts bitching about you.
I gave you every chance to debate. No, you didn't. What are you talking about?
The fact he even blocked you before he started bitching, that was the big giveaway.
But whatever. He's not obligated to listen to anything I say. I'm not entitled to his attention, just as I'm not
Come on, man,
entitled
we're
to his
ultras.
or
We're
anyone
ultras.
else.
We're entitled to everything we want. We're ultras.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'm mistaken then.
That's what they think of us. They think we're just like ultra fucking woohoos. Hey, I've been you know, he gave me his attention when I had like a quarter of the subscribers I have now. I had like less than 20 subscribers when he first started pestering me, and he's never come back. Well, he did once to confer with a comment from Dust James. Not a person you might want to agree with, considering that. Oof, God, he likes some fascistic symbols. Ooh, ooh. But then again, so does the rest of the Maupinites, as we've seen with this.
Oh, I
fucking
insulted his grandma's biscuits.
abomination. This abomination. But
The biscuit.
And don't even get me started on that cancer.
I mean, the first thing I said in the first Maupin video I did was that like if this guy is really honest going and all that, he'd happily speak with me and let me straighten things out and converse with them on the disagreements of this matter. And when I then went and reached out in a comment section, I had one of his mods talk down to me and try and belittle me. And I never heard anything off Caleb. And then as soon as I criticized him for doing whataboutism on ethnostates, he wrote a comment that the YouTube auto delete function deleted because he got too angsty. He's been a right ginger about it.
Also very tiresome.
But what do you think about oh wait, not this tweet. That's not the one I wanted to go to first. It's this one. What do you think about this? I can actually make your life easier. I won't be able to see comments, but
What? what is that? What is that supposed to mean?
He's- So this is something that got me when I first read it, was that like you would think, okay, he's calling them Bonapartists, so you think that would be a criticism, right? Because he's not a Marxist, he's a Bonapartist, obviously, which is Kaiserist. I mean, Marx uses the term Bonapartist, but it's the same bit bread and butter. It's the only one of the two terms that's actually in the dictionary. So, but but then what makes it muddy is that two people he literally reps as like cool guys, and when I've called them fascist, well, when I called FDR a fascist, he said I was out of my mind for thinking that. So he obviously doesn't connect being a Bonapartist to being a fascist publicly. I mean, he's smart enough to know those two things are tied together. I mean, he's read about Mussolini. I watched him talk about it in a video where he's talking about fascism, and he knows really a lot about their symbolism and what they represent. So he knows what Bonapartism represents for fascism, and he goes, he's like FDR or Lincoln, a strong leader who transcends his own class to stabilize society. The basis of his Bonapartism is remnants of the Soviet bureaucracy which he has re-energized, giving his Bonapartism a long-term character. What about it, Putin emanates the Soviet bureaucracy?
Well, I guess technically aren't they in the same building?
Oh, checkmate.
And owned.
Oh shit, I am debunked.
I thought they're still in the same building. It's just got a different name now.
Yeah, the Duma.
The Red Palace. Spooky.
Yeah, so when he says stuff like this, he's using it in a positive light. He's not saying it like in any kind of negative connotation. Like, okay, Putin is a Bonapartist, just like FDR, Lincoln. This is what Bonapartism is. This is why it's problematic, and this is why we need to get rid of it. No, he's not saying that. He's
You're not making uh you're not making Putin better, you're making Bonapartism worse.
Well, come on, man. Are you not sold on the whole Bonapartism thing? You know,
You
it's
know, I'm,
Caleb.
I'm really not.
Caleb did quote for quote say that America is going to need a Kaiser in its struggle. But he said Caesar because, I mean, in all of his big brain intellectual brilliance, he doesn't know how to say Kaiser's name properly. But the poor lumber proletariat guy who's been homeless twice knows. Lol.
But I mean he knows Caesar oversaw a slave-holding society, right?
Uh, he compared Kaiser to Jesus Christ, which is actually something the Roman Christians did.
Oh
oh,
no. 'Cause I've seen him praising Julius Caesar as a city builder.
Yeah, he literally sent. So City Builders Day is on Julius Caesar's uh, death day, when he was assassinated.
and it's not to like even take the piss out of Julius Caesar. It's literally to uphold him as oh, the
I
great.
Guy runs a slave-holding society, overthrows what little democracy there is. Oh, we should emulate
Genocides
this guy.
Celtic nations.
The Gauls, yeah.
You know what? I'm glad the Visigoths killed him.
Yeah, the Rome fell into like a four-way, five-way civil war where they all tried to fuck each other, but with swords, not dicks. I know that can
Ban
be
swords.
confusing. The Romans did a lot of different in betweens.
Can we get some sword control?
Oh well, I mean, the British Parliament, the House of Commons is actually set up with sword control in mind. So the distance between the front bench of the opposition and the government is um two swords and a half across. So you can't just slash someone's throat.
That's a thing.
Oh, not only
Base.
was it a
Leave it.
thing, they do.
leave,
They,
leave it to England to make Parliament stab.
do you know what the fucking worst thing is? We had to like implement that later on. It wasn't. There was a retroactive. We had to. Let's just say we didn't think about it straight away. There was a lot of killings in Parliament before we decided. You know what? Let's make this a little bit further away from each other, and that didn't stop people from killing each other in Parliament. It just slowed it down.
Well, you see all the stabbings in London. That's just a cultural thing.
Yeah, they like the old ways. I mean, you used to be able to like, if someone like sued you, you could challenge them in a sword fight, and if you won the sword fight, the thing was dropped from court, likely because the person suing you was dead.
Yeah, trial by combat. Heck, you know what I love? In Canada, that's still technically on the books. You could still ask for trial by combat.
It's still on the books here, but they'll laugh at you if you ask for it.
Yeah, and then I respond by calling him a pussy.
I mean, in Canada, because you guys all think you're like Texans for like 30% of the population.
Well, no, we don't. That's just Alberta.
Well, yeah, well, Alberta is now all of Canada now. We're doing what we do with the Yanks. We say Yanks, even though that's only like New Yorkans or some shit. I
Yeah,
don't
there's
know.
only three. There's only three states in the U.S: California, New York, and Texas, and
Yeah,
Florida.
and Washington, but it's basically just Canada, but shit. Um, what's it? Well, that's actually a lot of states of America are just Canada, but shit. Or is Canada America, but slightly more bearable? It's just a shit, to be honest. But anyway, the Albertans, they all think they're Texans. Would the trial by combat be with pistols? Because over here, it'll obviously be with swords. Um,
Less shooting, more healthcare.
you know, we're like Obi-Wan Kenobi in episode 3. So uncivilized. They're all about those swords. Even in World War
This
One, for
is.
some reason.
But
Throw down.
speaking of swords, Canada has the stupidest law when it comes to swords. Legally, you can carry a sword in Canada for any reason except self-defense.
Well,
Huh?
so wait, so if you were walking down the street and they were like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, is that for self defense?" You went, "No, officer, I'm using it to maim someone later on." Will you get away with it then? It's not self defense.
I don't think so. 'Cause you kind of
Otherly
just
infliction.
you could just say, "Why do you have a sword?" Swag.
It's a prop for a movie.
No, they like a real sword. Like
Nah,
literally,
you
there's
just
nothing they can
tell
do.
them that because the real sword is a prop for a movie, and then you're allowed any reason other than self defense.
Yeah, you can literally say decoration,
It's not a real
and
sword.
they say, "Okay."
What, officer? This is a stick I found in a bush.
Oh, just turn around and say, "Oh, this is my cock."
Sorry, I did not know the rules.
Yeah, that's the laws in Canada are so stupid.
If you say sorry 3 times, will you get away with it?
It should be a law. You can't carry in Ontario. You cannot carry a knife over 4 inches. It has to. Okay, you have to be under 4 inches.
Yeah, that's
But you can carry a sword, just so long as it's not for self-defense.
yeah, that's the same here. But the knife has to be a specifically used as a tool, not as a self-defensive weapon. So they're like, oh yeah, you can't carry a knife that's any longer than this. But we're not saying that you're allowed to use this knife for self-defense. No. That has to be for like cutting fishing wire or something.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. This is a true story from a guy that I knew. So the guy is in court. He's suing. It was a guy in Scotland. He's got whatever thing lawsuit against the government or whatever. He's a farmer. So he goes to court. they stop you at the metal detector and they give you that basket and they say, can you take out all your metal stuff? So he takes out his keys, his change, takes out his pocket knife, takes out some other stuff, and says, okay, there, and then walks through, and then they arrest him for carrying a knife. And it's like, well, yeah, I've got a knife. I'm a fucking farmer.
It's my home defense weapon. This is what they make lampposts out of. Like, this is.
I don't know, man.
I know you guys have seen mine.
Oh, this
Guess who Caleb just retweeted?
Who?
Oh, you're lagging out
sound
bad.
like an Atari 64.
Can you hear me?
Maybe.
Who is this? It's Helga Zepp
LaRouche. I think she was
LaRouche.
LaRouche.
LaRouche. French sounding name, so you should always be scared. Every time you hear a name that sounds French, you should get ready to shoot something.
She was the wife of Lyndon LaRouche.
Don't like French people. This is a French free zone. Yeah, no, this is some of the, if you were going to hit someone and you didn't want to get in a mass amount of trouble, you would aim for the legs, because this metal pole hits someone in the head, they're probably not going to enjoy themselves. And neither would you for like 12 years. Actually, given that it's a self-defense situation, you might get like 8 years, because they'll be nice, but maybe it depends on how much of a dickhead you are in the process. And I have a tendency to fuck myself into worse situations than I'm already in.
Actually,
yeah,
I need to go watch.
she's a member. Oh, sorry. She's a member of the Schliller Institute, a German-based political and economic think tank.
The Schiller Institute.
Clearly doesn't sound fascist at all. Some guy from like the 18th century. Oh, and there's on the Wikipedia page, it literally has something called allegations of anti-Semitism. That's always a good thing to have on your Wikipedia page. And cult allegations.
Come on, man. They said that the evil cabal was the British, though, not the Jews. So you can't say that they were being anti-Semitic, even though they used the anti-Semitic term cabal. How could you how could you call them anti-Semitic? It's not like they used.
Yeah. When they said cabal, they were clearly referring to the Mortal Kombat character. I don't know why you associate that with the Jews. I mean, that's clearly a video game.
Sorry, I've just been playing too much Fallout 2 and smoking way too much marijuana in the woods.
Seems like every time I come on here, I end up derailing everything.
No, actually, this was on track.
Can't hear you.
Your mom.
No, you.
Attacking things with bleach.
Oh boy. It's just that I saw that somebody sent me that screenshot of what Caleb said last night, and I was like, oh, what the fuck? You're literally going to take the poorest, most marginalized people and then just shit on them. Okay.
Yeah, and then he tried to gaslight by saying, well, not all black people are lumpen. And it's like, when did we ever say that? Or like, whoever said that? and then he attacked, I believe it was the Black Panther Party and Franz Fanon.
Huh. Yeah. No racism there, clearly.
Okay, so the next part we get on is where he starts doing his gaslighting again, because that's the tactics of people like this. They gaslight. So he's like, I tweeted about Putin as a Bonapartist, and all these idiots are tweeting at me. Napoleon invaded Russia, you moron. Read 18th Brumaire by Marx and get back to me. People have no idea what concepts mean, but I assume I must be wrong without any investigation of what I'm saying. The critique, as far as I'm aware, I'm no longer on Twitter anymore, so I don't know what people were tweeting to you, you moron. But what my criticism of it was when I saw the initial tweet was that Bonapartism, or Kaiserism as Mussolini preferred to call it, is a core tenet of fascism. It's one of the it's the backbone of their ideology. The the Kaiseric mentality driven by a Hegelian dialectics, mostly baked in Nietzsche, driven on a platform of neo-feudalism, and the various different fanatical formulations that neo-feudalism comes in. In fact, even Engels was talking about neo-feudalism in Socialism Scientifically Utopian, and the problem with that rising up. Also, he's also trying to obscure what Marx was saying about progressive and regressive Kaiserism, which uh, even then, I would argue that Marx is looking from a very Eurocentric perspective to even argue that Kaiserism was ever progressive. Like, yeah, progressive for the oppressors. Like, it stopped the progression for the rest of the world, and if anything, took it back in a lot of places. Like Victorian humanism is where the whole idea that the British Empire civilized people. Before that point, there was no like the British Empire is civilizing the world. That was never an argument that was made before Victorian humanism. Victorian humanism decided to make it as a way to justify to its people that um the British Empire is just in its activities. It was a way of saying, yeah, well, we do a lot of evils, but it's for a greater good. The whole greater good bullshit. It's one of them. Um, it's one of those all-time things that has everyone having some form of sympathies to the British Empire in Britain and in America, where those two nations especially, and I imagine Canada and Australia do too, espouse constantly the idea that the British Empire was a necessary evil for the world. Um, no more than what TV shows go and take that concept to.
Oh yeah.
Fucking bastards.
Getting a door delivery.
How American.
You door. Sorry, go ahead.
He's ordering a cheeseburger.
I like cheeseburgers.
I hope you yelled at the DoorDash guy like Haas did.
What a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
No,
the most-
seriously, fucking asshole.
Door dash, not elevator dash.
It's
When I
just,
order
if
an
you're gonna
Uber,
be like
I expect them to set the table and wash my dishes.
wipe my ass. Like if you're gonna be like a fucking dick like that, just go out and get your own fucking food. Something like that.
I swear he lives in like LA or something, so it's not like he hasn't got a wide selection of fast food places to go and take a nice walk to. Enjoy the fucking ocean air.
But yeah, what Caleb is doing here is basically conflating like bad faith argument with actual, and basically saying, well, there's no like real criticism of me. People are just conflating it with fucking, you know, it's just he's basically like conflating Bonapartism with Napoleon Bonaparte, and doing like maybe whataboutism, something close to that. But basically, he's not like taking actual criticism. Like
No, what
like
he's doing is he's
it,
taking something that someone stupid has mentioned, and he's using it to gaslight everyone else. It's gaslighting.
yeah.
Gaslighting is psychological manipulation of the opposition to make them question their own mentality and an operation. Like properly, many different forms of gaslighting, but they all center around psychological manipulation.
Yeah, it's just fucking dishonest. He's straw manning by misrepresenting what people are saying.
Yeah, this one would be even more specifically a strawman, I guess, as well.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to deal with actual criticism. Like a fucking cult, basically.
And he blocks
Or
people.
coward.
Blocks people
Because
who
like
criticize him.
because if like your friend or your comrade or cadre or whatever is doing something that you view as incorrect or the wrong line or wrong or whatever, it would be your job, your duty almost, to tell them, okay, this is the correct position, and I'll lay out why that is X, Y, and Z. But Caleb doesn't do that. He just wants to have just a bunch of fucking
Yes, men.
yeah, yes men, pretty much. And that's who he has on his streams all the time. It's like 12 of the same different people every time.
Well, it's because it's a nice little inner circle. It's like I spoke with someone who was involved in that CPI cult, and they got kicked out because they disagreed with Caleb. Lying in the dark.
Yeah, and it's not like and it was not because like any like actual political disagreement. It was disagreement over the direction he was taking his little cult in. Because he'll gladly work with people who politically quote unquote disagrees with, like the Larouchians, or the fucking the Duganist, or Action Francais. That's another little book, that organization right there. But if you disagree with him personally about like his little cult that he's forming, you're out of there. And I think that same former CPI member described it as an anti-communist cult, basically.
Yeah.
That's something that's being pushed from the top. That's not something.
I know what I'm doing.
Wouldn't surprise me at all. That's very much how it looks on the outside.
God. I just want to there's just some good lines to this, but one that Caleb should really read into. Get up the. Let me get up a transcript. Nah, not that bit. Where is it? It's not the. There we go. It's this one.
Are you gonna be a My dad has got me worried. I think he's going soft. There's half a ton of fertilizer stowed up in our loft. Are you gonna be a farmer, Dad? I asked him just for fun. He said, don't be a need you, pass a coffee grinder, son. Well, my old man's a polo with a berry and a gun. I haven't seen him lately, he's always on the run. He looks so really trendy in his shades and DM boots. Far cooler than those other dads in night in church and suit. My daddy's up in Long Kesh now, to me it's just not right. I'll say a special prayer for him when I go to bed tonight. The day it was his
Is there anything else?
I sent him in a cake. There was Semtex in the candles. He'll be out before I wake. Well, my old man, the provo, the berry and the cum. I haven't seen him lately. He's always on the run. He looks so really friendly. He's shaking the embers. Far cooler than those other dads.
Yeah. Nah. What's it? Oh God. Yeah. Mussolini colorized. I need to save that picture. That is gonna be. That is gonna go.
That one is definitely gonna be in my nightmares.
It's gonna become a stream regular.
Wait a minute. Middle class doesn't mean petty bourgeois. What is?
Yeah, it means whatever you want it to mean. Why not?
That's literally what. Okay, so Caleb is literally saying middle class is petty bourgeois.
Well,
So he's petty bourgeois.
well, he is.
Or he's implying that he's not middle class. I'm trying to brain
No, he would probably be trying to absconish at the fact that I'm calling him Petit-Bourgeois when how could he be? He's middle class. So he likes the title then. IBS Studios, Go Live. I don't know why I'm supporting Live so much, but I Go Live.
How can I be a petty bourgeois?
No, you. Also, I think he'd at least know where the term petit bourgeois socialist comes from. Engels come up with the term.
How can I be petty bourgeois?
Where's he? Where's he bitching about that? Is that on his Twitter?
No, it was in the. No. It was I posted in the messages on Shitcord. It was one of the YouTube comments he left.
Middle class is petit bourgeois. Well, I mean, the middle class does make up petit bourgeois. It also makes up, like the petit bourgeois are like the upper sector of the middle class, reaching into the ruling class though. Like the majority of the middle class are labor aristocracy. Is he trying to imply that the labor aristocracy aren't middle class?
That's what I was also thinking.
Ooh,
I think that's what he's doing.
saucy.
Because apparently according to Caleb, the labor aristocracy stopped existing after 2008. Didn't you know that?
No, actually, I didn't know that.
Oh, I've fucked you up again, Jason. It's like a fax machine. Oh,
No, well, I didn't know that.
I don't know if I dip your face off the screen, only some of your face will animate, so it'll like freeze part of your face up. I can basically make it look like you're wearing a balaclava that just looks exactly like the front of your face.
Interesting.
Skinner clava.
To see more tweets from Caleb Maupin, join Twitter now.
If that's something you're interested in.
It ends with oh no, I can still go on. It lied. Look at it trying to scam me into viewing Caleb Maupin, and Caleb thinks Twitter's against him. These fucking fly just hit me in the fucking eye.
Well, I think you can see his tweets and retweets, but you can't see his comments without a Twitter
No,
profile or
it
whatever.
just asked me randomly while I was scrolling, and it was because I was scrolling. I didn't click on no comments because I didn't click on any of the things. I just scrolling the page.
They see me scrolling. They hating.
Because they couldn't catch me limping at a semi-slow speed 30 because I'm a fucking cripple. Dear Russians, did you mean dead Russians? Thank you, Google. Now, they might have similar words in Russia, so it might not. Might be one of those situations where Russians are like a few words away from saying die instead of hello, but Stalin revisions of the dictionary. Dear Russians, do you mean dead Russians? maybe, uh, maybe Google has it out for the Russians. Whatever is going on here poses a much larger threat to global peace and stability than Vladimir Putin. Do you want a medal for being the smartest kid in the class? Because that's what you get. Smartest kid in the class. Jack off Tinkle.
You guys saw I think I already posted it before, but the parody account called Haxon Stinkle. I just love all these parodies of his name.
Haxon Tinkle. See, the only person who really stole my Jack off Tinkle thing was someone I don't even like. So it's not caught off like I thought it would. And I guess it's because it's not as funny to Americans, because Americans think I'm saying jag off, as in like someone who's a dickhead. But I'm saying jack off, which means fucking beat your meat. I think it's going past Americans' brains. We don't use the word jag off. Like that's a way to American thing, but we will call you a jack off. Like, jack off, because jack off Tinkle, because he's jacking off his tinkle. Because all he does is he's a really buff geezer, so I just reckon he does a lot of meat beating.
Gotta get those arms up somehow.
The March 14th Ukrainian attack on Donetsk, or numerous similar episodes during the 8 years of civil war.
Oh no, I've broken Jason again. This time it was Mussolini's fault. He does look a lot like Mussolini. You can't, you can see the canniness. It's especially the smile. I think the smile is very Mussolini like.
It's the face structure.
No, it's either got a very uneven shaped head and no hair, or I can vaguely see the shape of like fucking Trump hair on this thing. So Trump is Mussolini confirmed. I mean, also like Caleb's fantasization over Trump being like the opposition forces of the capitalist class, a billionaire.
Well, amazing. I hate capitalism. It's a lie. Everybody knows it's a lie. I do the best capitalism. Everyone knows it.
Caleb sold. I mean,
And
like,
you know my people. Best people ever.
is he trying to do a Kepler circle, like trying to appeal to it? What billionaire will ever play the faux radical game? Because with the Nazis, the Kepler circle, they had to go, these German industrialists had to go around to the other capitalists and tell them, yo, these guys are gonna be saying they're socialists. Chill out. They're not. Don't worry about it. And Hitler had to go and reassure him a lot as well, and do like the bankers' speeches where he went and said the absolute opposite. I mean, there was the old, I think it was a British piece of propaganda where it was like Hitler would say he's the National Deutsche Party to the capitalists, and that he was the Socialist Deutsche Arbeiter Party um to the workers. SDAP. The NSDAP. Isn't
Yup,
no,
gee.
I know OP is elderly person. So I say it's AP, isn't it AP elderly person? But no, it's OP. But the NSDAP, they're all a bunch of fucking. I could imagine like someone in their 70s in Britain mistaking it for the DWP, which is the Dole office. The NSDAP, ain't that those bastards that took away my universal credit? Not too far off. One likes to wear brown shirts, the others like people who wear black shirts. We also have a political party in Britain called the Knights Templar. Wonder what you think their ideology is.
They like templing knights.
It's a Maoist organization.
Neo-feudal, anti-Semitic driven British fascism. Live reaction of Russian war crimes. What's this Matthew Valenti been saying? Because I haven't seen it. The message keeps retracting. I see like deleted message and like, what is being said? Let's just ignore Caleb. Unfortunately, you can't ignore someone who is choosing to publicly organize. They're going to be a problem, and the more and more that we can make it difficult for them, the more and more they're going to crash and burn.
Yeah, you can't ignore these people. Like we've seen the results of that, of ignoring it. This cancer just keeps growing and growing. With like fucking Dugan and LaRouche and LaRouche and what was the other guy? I think there was one other. Brain fog.
Lumpen are criminal elements.
When you read Caleb's comments, you think he sounds like Starscream. He kind of does, to be fair, actually. I take that back. Caleb Maupin sounds like Starscream. Does that make Xi Jinping Megatron? I don't know. I'll let you answer that. Or is he Galvatron? I know it's basically the same guy. We're almost done. We're likely. What's it? Yes, they are screenshots courtesy of Mua. No, you can't do the Mua thing for UR. It doesn't work. Specky V provided screenshots. But yeah, no, what's it? So what, you know, I've been waiting all week to cover this shit because I knew it needed to end up being covered. I mean, as soon as I saw this, it was an absolute definite that this was problematic. Not gonna be having anyone get away with flaring the flag of the literal fucking czar and calling themselves socialists.
During the most reactionary period of the Russian Empire, which is when it was flown from like 1860s to 1890s.
What, you telling me that the Russian working class and peasants didn't like Tsar Alexander II? You telling me there's
Well,
a
according
reason why there was a Duma set up under the time of Tsar Nicholas II because of the problems that happened under Tsar Alexander? Or was it Tsar Nicholas the First? I can't remember. Was he the first or the second Nicholas? Either way, during Tsar
second,
Nicholas, they had to set up a Duma because, well, people were pissed. They were pissed for quite some time. Um, I actually saw a British piece where they were romanticizing Tsar Nicholas, and they were going on about how he was a good rugby player and he did he played, but whenever he'd be in Britain, he'd play a lot of rugby. It's like fucking that's our measure of fucking morality. Like no wonder fucking people were perfectly fine with leaving Boris Johnson in power after he turned around and said, "Let the bodies mount high. I'm not locking down the country again." That you would rather bodies pile high than lock down the country again. Um, because the guy plays rugby, so he must have been a good guy. Come on. Nonetheless, couldn't let that go. And then Caleb decided to dig the hole deeper and deeper. There was the tweets with the Bonapartism, where he's literally promoting Bonapartism as a good thing. We know that from his prior promotions of Lincoln and FDR. To now this that I saw yesterday, where fucking he's turning around and disenfranchising the lumpen through many means of straw manning and gaslighting. Um, this is gonna be continue. This will be bleh, bleh, bleh. I'm like the fucking one pigeon. Bleh. But we're gonna be fucking keeping up with the Maupin watch. Although, what's it? Probably not doing another Maupin watch until after I come back from hospital. The next watch that would be done would likely be cultured thug watch, where we're not really watching to be a cultured thug watch, but there's a couple of videos of his that needs to be broken down just to add greater understanding of what we're dealing with regarding the Dengists and these red brown Bonapartists. But
oh shit, that's who I was gonna name was Cultured Thug, yeah. And did you know that he actually, Flame of Liberation apparently promoted somebody from Cultured Thug's organization, New Horizon?
yes,
Some fucking fascist in New Jersey or whatever the fuck his name is.
goddamn, nothing's worse than Jersey, both in both in Britain and in America. Don't know how you fucking managed to fuck up two places with the name Jersey, but that's the British.
Well, well, to
But
be fair, it's only northern New Jersey that's really kind of fucked up. You go down to southern
well,
New Jersey, you got nice beaches and
trust me, there's places with nice beaches that are fucked up. Any inbred town in the south, but what's it? Trying to conclude again, so it's nearly done.
you were talking about the next
Yeah,
Moppin' Watch.
I know. Oh, I'm trying to just wrap up. 1 second. So tomorrow I'll be discussing the current situation in Palestine. Um, got a lot of shit to read. Um, let's see how much I get through before I pass out. That would be what it'll end up being, because reading's exhausting. But otherwise, that's the hot and the scotch of it. We'll catch you then. Keep an eye on these douchebags, because they're gonna keep doing more and more of this bullshit. And we'll catch yous on the flip side. Red salute, douchebags.
Red salute.
See you guys.
Peace, everybody.